All right. Well, I think we can go ahead and get things started here with this meeting. Thanks everybody for joining today. I'm Dan Fox from ECIA. I also have with me Dylan Mickles and Jack Studier from ECIA as well. And the purpose of the meeting today is to discuss some proposed changes to the scoring criteria for the RCTP grant program, the Rural County Transportation Grant Program. The primary change being removing the points that have previously been awarded for local match percentage. For the plan for the meeting today is I have a short presentation here where we'll just go through, provide a little background on the program, talk about some of the proposed changes, and then we'll turn it over to you all to give your comments, questions, and anything else you'd like to discuss related to the RCTP program. So I'm going to go ahead and jump right in here. So a little background on the program. So the RCTP provides grants to cities in Clinton, Delaware, Dubuque, and Jackson counties with populations under 5,000 for non-federal aid transportation projects. So through the RCTP, the counties award local county funds to cities, and in turn, the counties then receive federal funds from the RPA to use on a federal aid eligible transportation project. A city can receive up to $25,000 per fiscal year, a maximum 20% local or minimum local 20% local match is required with the program, and RPA or ECIA staff administer the program on behalf of the counties and assist cities in preparing their applications. Each county has a total of $70,000 available annually through the program. So these are kind of the basic nuts and bolts of the RCTP program, and we're not really anticipating that any of this is going to change moving forward. We're expecting that this will all stay the same in the coming fiscal year. Now, what we are looking at potentially changing is the application scoring criteria. So the scoring criteria is used by the RCTP grant program to evaluate the grant applications. And this criteria is predetermined and is sent out along with other relevant information in the program guidelines document at the start of the application process. The evaluation is conducted by a scoring committee consisting of representatives from organizations within the ECIA area that are ineligible to apply for RCTP grants. So this criteria is typically, or this committee is typically made up of representatives from cities within the RP or the ECIA area that have more than 5,000 population. So applications can receive up to a maximum of 100 points, and cities that have received funding in recent years will have up to 75 points deducted from their score. So following the FY 2025 RCTP cycle, the RPA board asked the staff to review the scoring criteria with input from cities. The primary concern with the criteria were the points that were awarded for local match percentages above the 20% minimum. The issues here were that the board felt that higher local match percentage doesn't necessarily reflect the merit of a project, and local match percentage can change after funds are awarded. So, things happen with projects, the budget changes, maybe part of a project is eliminated, and in those cases, that would then change the percentage of local match that's being contributed to the project and could potentially alter the score. And the members of the board felt that this was potentially unfair because it could have affected the score if what actually ended up happening was presented as part of the grant application. So we as staff have been taking a look at this. We've also been presenting it to different groups, city clerks and mayors, since the last RCTP cycle. We want to have this meeting today to give everyone an opportunity to see what we're proposing and provide their input. But at this point, we are recommending removing the local match points from the scoring criteria. So this is what that change was proposed to look like. Currently, we have 5 categories worth 20 points each that add up to 100 points. When we are proposing to remove that local match category, that would leave us with 4 categories. We increase each of those categories up to 25 points, and that would leave us with back with a total of 100 points. So with the next 4 slides here, we have a summary of what those categories could look like and how the points would be awarded within each of those categories. So the traffic category, this is very similar to what's existing, but in this case, we're assigning points based on a traffic count to city population ratio, where we take the traffic count and divide it by population. We've been using this same ratio for a long time with the program, and the idea here is that we're trying to account for the fact that traffic impacts different size cities differently. Smaller cities tend to see more impacts from traffic, potentially lower amounts of traffic. And so that's what we're trying to account for here. So to come up with this score, we use the Iowa DOT traffic counts or estimates. Most currently, we use the most current ones. And we will also use traffic counts that are produced by a third party using standard FHWA approved traffic count procedures. So if a city did have a special traffic count conducted, we would consider using that. And then we also use the city population from the most recent decennial census. So that is the 2020 census at this point. So the next category is safety. Again, this is similar to what we've done in the past, just more points awarded here. But points are assigned based on a benefit cost safety ratio for the most part. We use the Iowa DOT's benefit cost safety analysis worksheet. We use Iowa DOT crash data and crash reduction factors from a nonprofit service called the Crash Modification Factors Clearinghouse. So this is the same process that's used by the Iowa DOT to score their traffic safety improvement program grants. So that portion, based on this proposal, is 20 points, and you can see the ratios there and the corresponding point totals. We also have the option to award additional points for projects that accommodate safe routes to school. And so this is something that's awarded by the subcommittee. It's up to them and up to their discretion to be able to award an additional 5 points to a project if they feel that it's addressing a safe routes to school project. This category, we have considered, since we do have more points available to award now, we have considered looking at shifting some of these points around. So maybe taking 5 points or so away from the benefit cost ratio and adding them onto the safe routes to school and expanding that a little bit to maybe look at accommodating different types of safety. So, overall bike and pedestrian safety improvements and that sort of thing. So it would be taking points away from sort of a data-driven score to a more subjective score that's awarded by the subcommittee. But that's something that we can discuss a little bit later, and we can get your feedback on after we get to the end of the presentation. So the next category, 25 points here for community support. So this is a subjective category. The points are awarded by the project ranking subcommittee, and they can award up to 25 points in the community support category based on the level of community support that's demonstrated in the application. So applicants can demonstrate community support by submitting letters of support from citizens, businesses, schools, churches, or other organizations. They can submit signed petitions, meeting minutes, newspaper articles, or other relevant documentation. So in this category, anything that the applicant can do to show that there is community support for the project, the committee will review it and consider that as part of their score. I should also point out that these categories that are more subjective and awarded by the committee, the way that this works is that Each committee member receives the applications up front. They have a chance to review them, and then they each assign their own scores in each category to the projects. Then we have a meeting, we collect all the scores, we average them out, and that becomes the overall score for the project. Finally, here, the existing conditions category. Again, this is awarded by the committee. They can award up to 25 points based on the conditions of the existing infrastructure and project area. The committee will also consider here the effect, how effective the proposed project will be in addressing the deficiencies in the existing infrastructure. So applicants can demonstrate existing conditions through photographs, engineer's evaluation, or other relevant documentation. So in this case, photographs are really important. Usually what the committee does is they take a look at the photos and see what the existing infrastructure looks like. Then they'll also go back and consider the proposed project and say, do we feel like this proposed project is going to address the issues in the existing infrastructure effectively? So in some cases, if the photos of the road are showing really, bad damage, it looks like the base of the roadway is really bad, but the proposed project is just like a crack seal or a crack resurfacing or crack filling project. They may question that and say, is this project going to really address the issues that were going on here? All right, so those are our 4 categories. Then this is the point deduction table. So the idea here is that we're looking at trying to spread the funds around. The RPA board has been pretty adamant that they want to make sure that as many cities as possible have opportunities to receive grants through this project. So this is the same score deduction table that we have been using. We're not proposing any changes at this point, but we'd be open to taking some input on that table here today as well. All right, so our timeline, since we're working on these criteria changes, will be a little different than it has been in the past, just sort of in the upfront portion here. So what we are planning to do is on January 23rd, that's the next RPA board meeting. We're planning on presenting revised program guidelines with revised criteria to the RPA board for their approval. The following week, after we get everything updated and ready to go, we'll be hoping to open the application window on January 30th. Then in February, at a date and time that are to be determined, we'll be holding a virtual training session as we have in the past, where we go over everything from the scoring criteria and how to submit a grant, and everything that you need to have as part of that application. Then on March 20th, that's what our target is for the application deadline. In mid-May, then we'll get everything compiled and delivered to the ranking committee, and they will meet to rank the applications. By the end of May, we plan on having those recommendations together, written up in a memo, and delivered to the county boards of supervisors for their approval. They give the final approval to all the projects then. And then by early June, we would be looking to have the funding agreements set out to all the cities that have been awarded RCTP grants. So a little bit different, but the same general process as far as the applications go. So that's the end of the presentation. As I mentioned, there's my name and email address. Jack had helped out with this grant program last year, and we're also bringing in Dylan Mickles here from our office, as he's going to be helping as well. So there's all 3 of our email addresses. You can contact any one of us if you do have questions or anything related to the program. There's also a program webpage that's out there, and that's where we post everything and all relevant information related to the project. The memo that was sent out to everyone regarding these changes is there now. This presentation will be posted there, and I believe we'll also be posting a video recording in this meeting there after the meeting. But again, that's where you go for any information you need. So with that, I think that's the end of the presentation, and I will open it up now to everyone here that's on the meeting for your questions or comments regarding the scoring criteria changes.
Yeah, this is Annette in Piasta. Quick question. Is there a listing of approved projects so that we kind of have an idea if we haven't participated with the this program before, so we kind of know?
Yes. So in those guideline documents that get sent out at the beginning of the application process, there's a list of project types. If you do have a project and there's a question of whether or not it would be eligible, you can always contact us and we'll provide the best guidance we can on whether it's going to be eligible or not.
Are those documents going to be made part of the packet that the presentation that you've discussed today, and any other applicable documents? Will that be out there as well for us as a reference tool?
Yep. So we're working on putting together revised versions of those documents, and once we have the changes approved by the RPA board, we'll be sending those out. But last year's documents are available on the project webpage right now, so you can go view those, and that they have a listing there. And I don't think the eligible projects are going to change at all next year, so you can go take a look at the last year's ones there right now.
Okay, thank you.
Dan, hey, this is Mick from Dyersville. Hey, thank you for doing this presentation. I know this is a lot of work for you guys. I just wanted to add some clarification. This is the county swap money, right?
Yep.
Okay. So my suggestion for the criteria, I know that you moved some of the criteria. If you go back to your proposed criteria list, if you can, please. So in the proposed criteria list, I know that you removed, I believe, 20 points for local match section.
Yep.
My suggestion would be is that, even though this is county swap money, there is still, federal funds that are being swapped out on this. And my suggestion, I know some communities have minor collectors and major collector federal classification systems. I do think that there should be something in a category to allow for that, because it still would meet the federal objection or, the federal guidelines that it needs to meet for the proper use of those funds. Now, how you classify that, whether that warrants 20 points or that warrants, 10 points, I do think that there should be a category to allow for that, because, if you look at your traffic counts, I know your traffic counts are based on traffic counts and population base. Some of the communities that have minor collectors or major collectors, they actually have external uses in those. And I think that should be weighted a little bit towards the other side of that equation. Does that make sense to you, Dan?
Yeah, so it'd be for routes that are federal aid eligible, there would be some sort of points awarded for that.
Yeah, I would, and I don't know if 20 is the proper line, or I think at a minimum should be 10. I don't think it should be 5. I think it should be at least 10 or above to award that, and to allow for those type of classified road systems to gain that benefit over a local road system.
Okay, yeah, that's something we can look into and we can discuss with the RPA board. Would you like to see it kind of like a yes or no question, as if it's just federal aid eligible, then it would get the points, and if it's not, then it doesn't get the points? Is that,
I think, go back to the criteria, when you're opening up the applications for small city dollars. I know, like Andrew from Comanche and myself, we have major collectors, but there's a lot of communities that have minor collector road systems. I do think the major collector road system should score higher than a minor road system. So I don't think that a yes and no may not be the right answer. I think it should be kind of like, if you're a major collector, you get these amount of points. If you're a minor collector, you get these. And if it's a local road systems, you get 1 point or whatever, So I do think that there should be some kind of category added to it, and then some identity. I think you already have that matrix already done, because you use that in your STP funding. sources when you go out to
Mhm.
small city funding for that. And also in your scoring criteria when you're looking at county funding as well in the other pool of dollars.
Okay.
I do think that would reset for some of the communities that are higher in population. I call them in between cities. Dyersville's one, Comanche's another one. I do think that the smaller communities such as Piasta that are growing in Epworth and also Cascade, those type of communities, I'm just speaking in Dubuque County end of it, actually do have some minor collectors in their system. I do think that they should be scored, a little bit above than just a local road system, that locals have some responsibility, if not all the responsibility for that.
Okay. Yeah, we can, we'll definitely take a look at that and see if we can discuss that with the board and see if they are interested in putting that in the criteria.
Okay. Hey, thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Yep. All right. Anybody else have any questions or comments related to the criteria? I do want to just go back quickly to the safety criteria. And so this is something that we had just kind of talked about a little bit is would it be beneficial, do you think, to maybe take some points out of the criteria that are based just solely on the crash data and benefit cost analysis and moving them into a more subjective criteria where maybe there's a location where there's not a high number of crashes, but it's also maybe more of a bike and pedestrian type safety issue, where the committee could award safety points uh, based on a project like that. Is that something that you think would be, do you think would be beneficial?
Dan, my philosophy is anytime you can have it from an objective analysis versus a subjective analysis is much better. But I yield that to the other communities.
All right. Anybody else have any thoughts on this or anything else related to the scoring criteria? I mean, generally, overall, how are we feeling about the proposed criteria, and do we think it will work and will adequately evaluate the projects and lead to good results? All right, I'm going to take the silence as confirmation that we're doing a great job and everything's looking good. So with that, I think that's everything that I had planned for the meeting today. So if there's nothing else, nobody has any other thoughts or comments that they want to add, I'll give you one last chance here. All right, I am not hearing anything. So we will go ahead and adjourn this meeting today. And I guess just tell you to look for more information from us. As anything else is happening, the next time this will be on the agenda for the RPA will be that January 23rd meeting. And once we get that approved, we'll be sending out more information about how to apply for the grants and future training sessions directly to you in the near future. So thanks, everybody, and have a good day.
You too, Dan.
Thanks,
Thanks.
Dan.